Hello and welcome to the chapter 2, Forests and Wildlife Resources, chapter 2, class 10 Geography. The government plays an important role in the conservation of forests. The Forest Conservation Act of 1980 was enacted to help to preserve and conserve the country's forests. It strictly restricts and lays down the regulations, the dereservation of forests or its use for different purposes. Without the approval of central government, it's not allowed. The conservation of forests regulated and planned cutting of trees, controlled over forest fire, reforestation and afforestation, to check over forest clearance for agricultural and habitation purposes, proper utilization of forests and forest products, and rightful forest management. The classification of forests, before we go into it, the reserved and the protected forests are also known as the permanent forest estates. The reserved and the protected forests are maintained for the purpose of producing timber and other forest products and for protective reasons. Madhya Pradesh, the largest area under the permanent forest, constituting 75% of its total forest cover. All northern states and the parts of Gujarat have a very high percentage of their forest as unclassed forest managed by the local communities. We all know that 1952, the National Forest Policy has declared that one-third of the geographical area or 33% of the geographical area should be kept for the forest cover. The protected forest cover, almost one-third of the total forest area, is protected for forest as declared by the Forest Department. The forest land are protected from any further depletion. The reserved forest, more than half of the total forest land has been declared reserved forest. It is reserved and is regarded as the most valuable and precious as far as the conservation of forests and wildlife resources are concerned. The department takes initiation for the protection of the natural habitat. The unclassed forests. These are the forests other than the wetlands and they are belonging to both government and also private individuals and communities. The conservation of forests and wildlife is a greater challenge today. The Indian Wildlife Protection Act 1972 list of protected species was published. The banned process for illegal hunting, poaching, and restricted trade in the wildlife. Established wildlife sanctuaries and also national parks. The projects for protecting special animals. The loss of cultural diversities. We know that several tribals are there in these forests and these groups of different ethnicities practice their livelihood from times immemorial. the marginalized and the impoverished, many forest communities are lost. Impact on women is serious health problems. The drought or the deforestation induced floods, which is a geographical threat. Poor are affected the most. So, there is a need to conserve the forests and the wildlife. Maintaining an ecological balance for supporting the life. Preserving different kinds of species with biodiversity. And preserving economically important plants and animals, fuel, fodder, and domestic needs which we get from the forest, that has to be taken care. Needs of the villages, small scale and large scale industries are to be taken care. Any kind of recklessness and greed will only lead to degradation of the natural environment and forest fire. All the developmental activities due to the greed of man, maybe the river valley project, mining activities, grazing and fuel wood collection, hunting and poaching or illegal hunting, over exploitation of the forest resources, environmental pollution, and forest fires and poisoning. All these are the factors to be taken care. The factors responsible for the depletion of the flora and fauna are the policies that are followed during the British period, who implemented colonization and expansion of agriculture for the growing demand to cultivate timber and also plantation activities. Also, the expansion of railways and the need for timber, the growth of agriculture, the commercialization of agriculture, introduction of scientific forestry in the name of destruction of various species and planting one single species, which is not at all scientific, also mining and enrichment plantation. All these wrongful methods are responsible for the depletion of the forest resources. The forests act as a watershed. They are the habitat for the wildlife. They give us economic benefits. They help in climatic control. Wildlife help in balancing the ecosystem. They maintain food chain, which is very, very important for the ecological balance. They also act as a means of recreation. What is a wildlife? The wildlife means an area where the undomesticated animals living in the wild, including those hunted for food, sport, or profit. Wildlife can be found in all ecosystems. The forests which are vanishing need to be taken care. The state of forest report does not differentiate between the natural forests and the plantations. Therefore, these reports fail to deliver accurate and balanced information about the actual loss of the natural habitat. The vanishing forests, the dimensions of deforestation in India are staggering. The forest cover in the country is estimated at 78.29 million hectare, which is 23.81% of the total geographical area. But according to the National Forest Policy, it should be 33%, which is approximately 10% less. According to the State of Forest Report 2011, the dense forest cover has increased by 10,098 square kilometers since 1997. However, this apparent increase in the forest cover is due to the plantation by different agencies. The Wildlife Protection Act 1972 is an act of the Parliament of India enacted on the 9th of September 1972. It provides for the protection of wild animals, birds, plants, and for matters connected herewith or ancillary or incidental thereof. It extends to whole of India except Jammu and Kashmir because that was not included into Indian territory. And now, with the ban of Article 370, the territory is included and the separate constitution is banned, and two union territories are made. We know it is Ladakh and Jammu. It has six schedules which give varying degrees of protection for different species. This is the map of India with the distribution of the wildlife and natural habitat at different places and regions. The Project Tiger is an initiative for the conservation of the tiger. This program was launched on April 1st, 1973 by the Government of India. The project aims at ensuring a viable population of Bengal tigers in their natural habitats, protecting them from extinction and preserving areas of biological balance and importance as a natural heritage. Today, how many Bengal tigers are there in India? There are approximately 53 tiger reserves in India. Yes, and the latest, which is included, Guru Ghazidas National Park of Chhattisgarh, as of 2022. According to this tiger census of 2018 and 19, which was conducted in 20 states across India, there are 2967 tiger lives living in India. The Chipko movement, which was started by Sri Sundarlal Bahuguna, where an awareness was created in the community to embrace the tree and those people who are greedy and destroy the forest, the flora and the fauna, especially the flora. The Sundar Lal Bahuguna movement, which was started by Sri Sundar Lal Bahuguna, a Gandhian, an activist who gave the movement a proper direction, and its success was huge. It meant that the world immediately took notice of this non-violent movement. Everyone realized the importance of tree, the tree which gives us life and stands still throughout its life and protects the environment by taking care of so many aspects. It was to inspire in time many similar eco groups by helping them to slow down the rapid deforestation and destruction of the habitat, expose the vested interest of the greedy people to increase social awareness and the need to save and conserve the trees. The conservation of forests and wildlife is to be taken care by every person. The local communities need to be involved in the conservation programs. Each one should take up the conservation program. This is the national park map of India and different states which are having the parks location and who take care. In India, the Joint Forest Management Program, it furnished the details for a good example of involving all the local communities. Each one should feel responsible and restore the degraded forest. The program has been in formal existence since 1988, when the state of Orissa was the first one to pass the resolution for Joint Forest Management. JFM, or the Joint Forest Management, depends on the formation of local institutions, the village institutions that undertake different protection activities, mostly on degraded forests, land managed by the Forest Department. In return, the members of these communities are entitled to intermediary benefits like non timber forest producers and share in the timber harvested by the successful protection. Every community plays an active role in the conservation. The protection strategies or the plans are not now new. It is an age old phenomenon. We often ignore that in India the forests are also home for some of the national traditional communities. There are so many tribal groups who live there, and in some of the areas of India, the local communities themselves are struggling to conserve and protect these habitats. Along with the government officials, they are recognizing that only this will secure their own long term livelihood because they depend on it for times immemorial. For example, in Rajasthan, the Sariska Tiger Reserve, villagers have fought against the mining activities by citing the Wildlife Protection Act. In many areas, also, these villages are protecting the habitats and explicitly rejecting the government involvement. They themselves take the initiative, and the inhabitants of nearly 5 villages in the Alwar district of Rajasthan, they have declared that 1200 hectares of the forest are declared as the Bhairav Dev the cow sanctuary, declaring their own interest. Their own set of rules and regulations are framed, which do not allow hunting or poaching or any illegal activity, and they are protecting the wildlife against any kind of encroachment. The Indian society comprises of several cultures. It is a multilingual, multi-caste, multicultural country. And these several cultures, each one with the unique set of traditional, their practices, their customs, livelihood, the traditional methods of conserving the nature and its creations. The sacred qualities are often described and ascribed to spring, mountain, peaks, plants, and animals which are closely protected. You'll find troops of macaques and langurs around many temples. They are all worshipped as the agents of God. And because they belong to the apes family, we believe that man is their uh, offspring. They are fed daily and treated as a part of temple devotees, and they are taken care because they are in and around the holy region, sacred region. The Bishnoi village in Rajasthan, herds of blackbuck, chinkara, nilgai, and peacocks can be seen as an integral part of the community, and nobody harms them. And these animals don't feel a threat. They feel that they are part of the society, and people take care of them, protect them. There are many sacred groves, a wealth of the diverse and rare species. Nature worship is an age old tribal belief. Many tribal groups are there in our country, and they are all worshipped. The nature worship is an age old tribal belief based on the premises that all creations of nature have been to protect them. Such beliefs have preserved several virgin forests, undisturbed forests in pristine form, most clearest form most holiest form, most sacred form, and they are called as the sacred groves, the forests of God and goddesses, undisturbed, most precious, most clean, most holy. These patches of forest or parts of large forests have been left untouched by the local people, and any kind of interference by any other person is banned. Certain societies they revere a particular tree which they have preserved from the times immemorial. For example, the Mundas and the Santal community of the Chota Nagpur region, they worship Mahua, the Basaya and Latifolia name, and the Kadamba and the different trees, the names Anthocaphus and Kadamba trees, and the tribals of Odisha and Bihar worship the tamarind, Tamarindus indica, and mango, Mangifera indica, the names of these biological names of these trees. During the weddings, they do sacred ceremonies at these groves. To many of us, people and banyan trees, even today, are considered to be sacred. Many people tie the thread, holy thread, around these trees, and they believe that they make offerings to the god and keep their plea and request to the god. They believe that this natural habitat will be taken care. This is the community which is taking steps and initiations. Their meetings, they produce different kinds of healthy results. And when the timber harvested, which is called as a successful protection, the clear lesson from the dynamics of both environmental destruction and reconstruction in India is that local communities everywhere have to be involved. No one can say that it is the government's role, because they are depending on this natural habitat. They need to involve and protect in some kind or the other to protect the natural resource and manage it carefully. But there is still a long way to go before the local communities are at the center stage in decision making. Accept only those economic or developmental activities that are people centric, that are developmental for the people, where some kind of livelihood can be created for them. Environment has to be eco-friendly, decisions have to be taken, and that also should be rewarding economically. When people involved in the safeguard of this natural habitat, they should be taken care, their lives should be protected. I hope the concept is clear. Page number 16, 17, 18 are deleted for this year 2022, 23. The remaining forest conservation and the other aspects are included in the topic for the syllabus and the curriculum. I am your teacher Devrata Beku. I hope I am able to satisfy your need. Thank you so much.